Psychedelic drugs coupled with psychotherapy are proven to help people with depression. A small dose of the drug DMT, which produces powerful hallucinogenic trips, was given to people with treatment-resistant depressive disorder. The benefits are said to have lasted 6 months. Well, Dr. David Erritzoe was the lead investigator in that trial and joins us now. Lead investigator, is that the right way of describing the work that you did? You were certainly leading the research in all of this.
Yeah, I was involved together with the company who funded the trial, yeah. So we were, yeah.
And why do we think that DMT is quite so effective in dealing with depressive disorder?
Yeah, I mean, it adds to the growing body of evidence that classic psychedelic compounds like DMT, but also psilocybin, that they can be, have great therapeutic benefit and be well tolerated. They have rapid onset of action of the antidepressant effect and also durable effects long after the drug has left the body and the brain. So that's what makes this paradigm, very promising. And this data basically supports this.
Talk to us about what they do to the brain that means that they're more effective than other treatments that people may well take for depression.
Yeah, whether they are more effective, time will tell. So far it looks like they might be. And in particular, a lot of the patients going into these trials have already tried different treatments, antidepressant, talking therapy, and they're still really depressed coming into these trials. So that they benefit from this obviously is greatly promising and good for these patients. So the drugs, these psychedelic drugs, including DMT, they induce sort of quite a profound expansion of awake consciousness. They produce vivid, visual, immersive experiences. They are leading to altered sense of time and space. They are often really a classic narrative from people coming out of the trials is that they induce this emotional breakthrough or profound sense of connectedness and acceptance that is very typical. On the brain level, if you want to hear what that... Yeah, so in this trial, we have done a lot of work in our lab at Imperial, and also others have around the world more and more, to try and understand mechanisms, so how does these work differently. And they do produce a very flexible brain state. They open up a window of opportunity for sort of reshape, even remolding of the brain to some degree.
So the brain, when depressed, can become rigid in the thought processes that it has, and this allows it to kind of open and be more malleable.
Yeah, exactly. It can become pretty stuck and rigid, and for instance, in depression, can be rumination, sort of being stuck in negative thought spirals and so on. And that looks like the psychedelic state can sort of break that. And also we see even some of these brain effects lasting beyond the presence of the drug, which might explain why this sort of a more moldable brain that can reshape a bit is probably behind why that they have long-lasting effects after 1 or just 2 sessions, as was used in this study as well.
Some people watching will be concerned about the idea of using psychedelics to treat this sort of thing. Do you have concerns? Is there a danger of using these kinds of drugs?
I mean, now we are speaking about in a sort of safe clinical environment where you have trained staff, therapists, medics, and so on that are helping prepare the people to be ready for the experience, and they're also supporting them through and helping them afterwards, what we call integration, to help make sense and integrate the experiences into people's lives, and in a way try to exploit this opportunity for change. And in that sense, we are showing in all these trials that they are well tolerated. So although that they can bring difficult psychological material, interpersonal, relational stuff, or even trauma to the surface in these sessions, when it's safely sort of contained and supported therapeutically, then they can be done very well. So out in the real world, if you want to, whether it's safe to do that, I don't want to sit on a high horse and say, just because we use them in a medical way, in a sort of medical development, where we hope to get them out and implement it into healthcare in the NHS and so on, doesn't mean that I want to sit and say and undermine centuries of human experience with these drugs in different cultures. They have been used wisely and are still used outside of a very medical setting. However, for people with, quite severe depression, for instance, I think it's a very valuable and meaningful thing to develop them and try to safely embed them into healthcare as well.
Dr. Dunn, I've got a couple more questions. One on the sort of the process of this. Is it that you take this drug in the clinical setting once and then the effects last for a period of time, versus people who are on sort of SSRIs that are taking them 2-3 times a day and they're on sort of
exactly, yeah. That's why they look like they're really new, novel tools in our toolbox in psychiatry, because you're right that with SSRIs, sort of conventional antidepressant medication, you take them every day for a long time. Here, it's 1 session, 2 sessions. Whether we need to boost later on in this trial of this size that we did here, it's too small to test that, but in the larger scale trials that come subsequently, and they have been done now with psilocybin. So psilocybin is more progressed and developed, and actually massive data came out yesterday as a total landmark day yesterday. So now psilocybin really looks like it's very likely to come in the near future into healthcare.
And finally, and you kind of touched on it, and I don't know if it's in your area, but you can maybe expand on it. What are we learning about consciousness and human consciousness from the way that people respond to these things? You talked about that sort of disassociation, maybe that sort of lucidity, that connection with something else within our minds. What are we learning about the way that the human mind works through these drugs and the treatment?
I mean, I think, it's a big question. I think that what is very exciting and very clear from all these trials, that the experiential element of these of this modality, this paradigm, that this expansion of consciousness that happens in the state under the drug influence presence in the brain, that we can see that the deeper that goes, the more psychological peaky or mystical type it becomes, that is associated with the clinical benefits. So that we see also in this data set that came out now that I'm here to talk about, and we see that quite consistently throughout these trials. So that is very interesting and completely different from what we're used to in conventional psychiatry. So it's an opening up of a new field of more interventional psychiatry, where it come in with sort of intense treatment modalities, whether it's brain stimulation, which is also developing an exciting field coming more and more, and then these compounds as well, and sometimes maybe in combination, which we're also trying out.
Really interesting stuff. Sorry, I saved the big question for the end, but it's a conversation we should have again, David Erritzoe. Thank you for being with us, and good luck in your good work. Thank you very much for